So I won't dig in, but we can open the top of this. This hive had a problem with wax moths. And so when the Texas boys were here last week, I showed them the same thing, and I actually got stung. We'll try not to get that today, but it's a little less.
Well, I don't mind if you get stung.
Yeah. So it's a little cooler out today, so I'm not going to open the whole hive. Right there's a wax moth larva.
Yeah.
That's not good. We'll squash that. But they look like they're hanging out, you know, being just kind of huddled up. I'm not going to take the top off and let all their heat out, but they're huddled up in there. Hopefully they're doing okay. I'll come out here on a warmer day and check out how that's doing. Because I ended up putting more eggs and larvae in this hive to compensate for where the wax moths were tearing up the hive. I don't know if that was the right choice, but that's what I did. So I need to get out here and take a look at that. It's just been too cold the last few days.
Yeah. At what point are bees in trouble, temperature-wise?
I don't really know the answer to that. I know they can tolerate heat really well because they like their hive to be in the mid-90s. And so if it gets way over that, they'll fan the hive and cool it off. If it gets way too cold, they spend a whole lot of energy vibrating and moving to heat the hive up.
Wow.
And so I know that up north, a lot of people have a hard time keeping bees alive. So yeah, really on the cold end of that, I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm still learning.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Cool stuff. So you have one here, 3 over there, and then 1 over there?
Correct. Yeah, this is just extra equipment right here.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, and then the horizontal. My goal is eventually to use a whole lot more of the horizontal hives. Simply because as a beekeeper, it's easier to work with. Because it's, if you can imagine.
Standing up.
If you can imagine standing here working across instead of bending and twisting and lifting, moving these boxes around.
Yeah.
This is just a whole lot nicer. Now, there's a lot of arguments for and against this style. You know, people in America especially have been using this style of hive for
always
a long time.
Yeah.
And so it's like the standard. And there's people who just say, that's it, that's the way to go, you can't do anything else. And I don't usually buy into the standard as being the only way, so that's why I'm experimenting with the horizontal hive.
You are talking to the guy that builds Barndominiums instead of conventional housing like everybody else does.
Right.
So I understand completely.
Yep.
Just because they've been doing it that way always.
Let's go ahead and step back so we're not standing right in front of their
Okay.
hives. They don't like people standing right in front of their hives.
So yeah, just because that's the way it's always been done, it's not a good enough reason to do it that way.
Well, there are very good reasons to use these boxes. They're very versatile, and you know you can add and subtract and move them around.
Yeah.
But if you're a small-time beekeeper like myself, I don't see why it wouldn't be beneficial to go ahead and do something that's a little more permanent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fewer pieces. Because whenever I'm not, it's not ideal to store those wooden boxes out here. Obviously, the weather can get to them.
Right.
So if you don't store them out here, you got to store them somewhere. And you already saw my mess of stuff, my valuable goods that are stacked up.
Yeah.
And I just can't keep storing stuff. So I have a lot of boxes. And at certain times of the year, I need them. Then other times, I don't. So they end up just being stacked up somewhere.
Yeah. Cool, man. Cool stuff. Well, I may have to get myself, man, like I said, I bought some of your honey, and those of you that follow me on Instagram already know it took me like half a day to get addicted to your honey. I mean, I've had honey before, obviously, but it's different.
Yeah.
It is way different. And the reason I got it is because my wife does a lot of baking. So I told her, and she's like, yeah, get me some honey. And I got her some honey. And as you already know, while I was at the Good of the Land Fest, I had just bought that honey from you. And remember, I opened one and I kept putting some on my finger, and I got to the point where I just stuck it in my back pocket, and every 5 minutes or so, I would take some out, and he said, "Be careful, you're gonna get addicted to that stuff."
It's good.
Oh, it's so good. It is so good. Now I keep it right next to my desk. Luckily, I got 2 bottles. Remember that?
Yep.
I gave one to my wife, and the other one I kept for myself.
Yeah, she's gonna empty hers and go for yours.
Yeah. Well, no. Yeah, because by the time she goes to mine, mine's gonna be gone. So.
Yep.
But it's some good stuff. So
It's very good.
I think it would be, and you know, I saw that, as you know, I filmed that where you extracting the honey. That is some interesting stuff.
It's a fun process,
Yeah.
and got me over 4 million views on YouTube.
There you go. You know, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, the video took off in ways that I just never expected.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are interested in watching that honey being extracted. It's a fun process.
It is. It is fun. It is satisfying. All right, Blake. So I know nothing about bees. Tell me what's going on here.
There are currently 5 active hives here. The short yellow one up front is, it's one that I call the Gretchen Bee Ranch hive because I got the starter hive from Gretchen Bee Ranch in Seguin. And then there's 3 of the vertical Langstroths in the back, and then my 1 active horizontal hive up front. And then a few extra pieces, a few extra boxes in there.
So when you say active hives, do they not mix with each other? How does that work? I don't know.
Well, each hive is its own colony with its own queen.
Ah.
So, yeah, each one is an independent colony or organism, a larger organism, and they will only go into each other's hives. Maybe not. Let me start that over. They typically don't go into each other's hives unless they're going to start robbing each other out. Like they might go see if there's some resources in another hive that they can get out.
Yeah.
But a strong hive will keep those robbers out. So they usually keep themselves pretty good.
So that's pretty good. So like I said, so it's in a way almost like 5 different cities.
Yeah.
Is that how one way to?
Yeah, 5 cities, I guess, or maybe just 5 houses with a whole lot of people living in them.
Okay, and they each provide for themselves and their queen. All right, real quick. Again, I know nothing about this, so explain to me how the queen. How I've never looked into it, so I don't understand how the queen, the part of the queen plays into the whole deal.
Well, the hive can't exist without the queen. She is she's the center of attention. Literally, they all serve the queen. Her entire life, her purpose is to lay eggs and just create more bees. And without that happening, because an individual bee's lifespan is pretty short. The queen can live maybe up to 5 years or so. Typically, they will live maybe 2-3 years. But an individual worker bee might live weeks.
Really?
So she needs to be churning out baby bees constantly to keep that larger colony, the organism of the colony, alive. And so that's their job, is as soon as they come out, they go to work. They might be working as nurse bees or forager bees or guard bees, whatever their purpose is at that stage of their life. They're serving the queen and the colony to perpetuate the.
So what happens when the queen bee dies?
They'll make a new one.
They'll make a new. Explain that.
Right. It's an interesting thing. So a queen bee, the bees make what they call royal jelly, and all bees get some. Queen bees get a lot. This is a substance that they make and they put down in the cell with the eggs and the larva, and that larva feeds on that. If they want to create a queen because they recognize, oh, our queen is failing, she's injured or she's missing, she's dead, whatever, then they'll pick an egg to build a larger cell around it, and they'll deposit a whole lot of that royal jelly, and that will grow up to be a queen. They'll do that several at a time, and when that queen hatches, her first task is to go out and kill the other queens.
Okay.
So then there's only one. Sometimes 2, maybe there could be a couple, but generally there's one queen. She'll then fly out, mate with as many drones as she can find, and the drones will congregate in one area. Those are the male bees.
Okay.
They'll congregate in one area, and she'll fly out, she'll mate with as many as she can, and each one that she mates with will die, because that's their purpose, they're done. And then she'll fly back with, she's full of that genetic material from all those drones, and so she'll get to work, and for the next couple years of her life, the rest of her life, she's laying eggs. That's her job.
So she lays eggs. Does she need to get fertilized more, or it's
One
just
time.
that just the one time
Well,
when she
it's
went
many
out?
times in one flight. She flies out, she gets mated 10, 15 times, carries that all back, and that lasts the rest of her life.
Oh, okay, that's what I'm saying. So just the one time that she left at the beginning,
That's it.
that wow.
She leaves a virgin queen, comes back a ready queen, and gets right to work.
Wow,
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
that's very interesting. Wow, that's God, makes me want to get a hive now.
Do it.
No, right? No. That's freaking interesting, man. Thank you for that.
You bet.
Wow, I see why you're into it so much. That was freaking interesting. I literally have never ever looked into it. Yeah, I can see them flying around. And
Initially, I got into this just to help my fruit trees. And when I figured out it was more fun and easier to keep bees alive than fruit trees in Texas,
yeah,
I decided to stick with the bees. And the more that I work with them, the more obsessed I become with them. It's like, in a way, now I'm serving the queens, right?
Yeah.
She has a way of manipulating the entire environment, including the beekeeper, and now here I am doing my best to provide for each one of these queens to give them the best opportunity to enjoy this space as their home in that symbiotic relationship between beekeeper and beehives. And I take just enough honey. I leave lots of honey on the hives. Some people are concerned about taking too much, like I'm robbing the bees. And the fact is, bees produce more than they need. So
what do they
take a
use?
little
Is that their food? Is the honey?
the bees don't really use the honey for food so much. They make what they call bee bread, and that is a pollen. They ferment pollen, and they pack it in the bottom of the cells, and that's their main food source.
So the bee is the honey, is that a byproduct, or what is it? What's
Well,
it?
they do use it, but it's not their primary food source.
Okay.
My understanding is, and I will tell my own audience on YouTube, I don't know it all. I'm still learning, but my understanding is that they just make honey when the resources are available. When there's nectar and pollen,
Right.
they're making honey, and they fill up as much as they can.
Right.
My theory, and it may be understood beyond myself, is that they're using that also as a thermal mass to insulate the hive.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I leave a lot of honey on the hives over the winter, so they have lots of insulation in the hive.
That was cool. Very interesting. I love learning stuff. Of course, I have enough land. See, I'm already thinking about that. I have enough land,
you.
but no. I'll just come over here every time I want to see a hive. We'll just keep it that way. Anyway, cool stuff, man. Cool stuff. I hope you learned something today. We are Texas Barndominiums.